Hello, folks. It's Mike Reynolds of the Maine. I am a writer. I used to be a webmaster. We have a much more competent woman that does the webmastering stuff, and I just do the Storytime stuff and writing stuff, and that'll hopefully be more writing in the future. And we're working on that, or I'm working on that. First, to let you know, it's been a while since we've had a story time. There's been some changes in the background of what's going on. Facebook has decided that they will no longer post our videos. So that means our archive of 5 years of doing videos is going to be gone from Facebook by the end of August. I believe the date's August 27th. What we're going to do is we're going to try and save the last two-ish years, so we can cover the period of time that happened after the devastating mass shooting in my hometown of Lewiston. We have somebody watching, which is awesome. Happy hello to the person out there watching. So we're basically going to be trying to archive the videos, which means downloading every single one of them and then putting them. We're going to put them on archive.org, and then you're going to be able to grab them from the website. We could put them up here too, or we might just link to the archive.org collection, because I think that's what we're going to do, is do a collection of videos. So it's going to be quite a few hours of civil rights history in Maine, and focused around, post-COVID era stuff. And it'll be important because I don't think there's anything in terms of dealing with like a mass shooting and dealing with COVID and dealing with all the crazy stuff that we've been dealing with in Maine since 2000 or 2020, roughly 5 years ago. And we started this so simply with just, doing poetry, because literally all I could do is think of it. We were going through such a incredibly complete revolution of what people were doing, and I was like, didn't have any idea. So live streams are huge, so I just decided to use this because my friend Amber was doing some poetry, and I just decided, hey, that might be something I can do, so I did it, and it worked. And, it feels like that's like a punk spirit that seemed to get me through, and so we may not be online for as much. We're going to be doing a lot of back end work trying to get that stuff archived, so if we don't do a story time for a while, that's probably why, because we're doing other things like trying to make sure that we have an archive of stuff and we don't lose our videos to Facebook's new policies. So that's going to be going on, which will be taking a lot of our time, and we've actually lost because there was a cutoff date, and our last video was after the cutoff dates. We actually lost the video because it was 3 days after I looked for it before I realized that it was deleted. So yeah, great. It was there, then it wasn't. I was like, oh great. So, and since I'm not doing, I'm not going to save the promo videos. I just didn't do a promo video, and I'm sorry about that. And I know it's Memorial Day. I know there's a lot going on. So let's get to it. We're doing there's much weekends today, and that's cool. And regarding that, apparently within the last 2 or 3 weeks, the Resiliency Center, which is a center that FEMA and others went up immediately after the shooting, and it's located in the, if you know the Listings, where the old Oil Beans call center used to be, or the old PEX building. And they've helped about 600 people. They were looking for more funding. I believe they got it from the state legislature. So the Resiliency Center will be continuing to operate. Literally, it's really scary to be living in the U.S., not even rural America, but like in America, it's just scary because you don't know what's going to be happening with SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts and everything. One of the reasons I had such a time with my last story time was that I had a panic attack in the middle of it because I thought that I was going to lose my healthcare provider, because the provider did lose a number of people lost their provider. I did not lose my provider, but the dates on the invoice I got were different. Dates on the letter I got were different than my meeting, and I was looking at my meeting as I was my calendar as I was in story time during my story time trying to get information to you guys, and I had a panic attack. It was horrible, and like luckily I'm going to be spared, and I've gone through a lot that gets up to just be happy with that, and but there's literally such limited support and services for people in Maine that it's quite terrifying to see how limited the options really are. And again, the fact that there's a house budget with so many huge costs in Medicaid and SNAP benefits, and probably even the healthy foods for all school students. I mean, every student in Maine should not have, no student should have to go hungry, and in Maine you don't have to pay for a lunch regardless of your income if you're in a public school, which is awesome, because I'll tell you, there are times when my parents couldn't afford hot lunch, and I went without. I mean, I could borrow it and teach and stuff for bus friends and stuff, but still, I mean, it's scary. And what? Excuse me, I'm on. Oh no, I'm not. Sorry. You can watch me if you want. Okay, believe me. That's my roommate trying to find me online. He's cool. So the federal budget is going to have huge SNAP cuts, which I'm not sure exactly what that means. It scares me because I do receive SNAP benefits because I have really huge medical bills every month because I have medical expenses because I have a disability, which, I mean, would be great. It'd be nice not to spend $1,000 a month, a year, on medical devices when I'm already broke. But, you do what you have to stay alive. And, you know, I mean, trying, as of May 7th, I can't fly, so I've got to buy a passport or get a real ID, which is going to be, it's not even the issue of doing it, it's where the money, it's just the frustration of having to do it, the inconvenience of it all, which is, I guess, even more of a frustration. But it puts, right now I can't fly anywhere because of my real ID status. I don't have a real ID. And there's been so much going on with, in the court of politics. I'm going to go through parts of this stuff. RFK Jr. is still the head of Health and Human Services, and I believe it was last week he testified in front of Congress, saying how, trying to defend like how he cut ALS funding and cut treatment stuff in Maine. I believe suicide hotlines were cut, which are part of HHS. I believe all sorts of medical and stuff's been cut. I believe in Illinois the ALS funding and ALS research that Senator Durbin has been cut, and when pressed, RFK Jr. just flatly denied it, just said no, he lied about the number of people that were fired, he lied about a lot of stuff, which doesn't really surprise me because he's lied about most of his career. That's how he's been, that's what he does, that's who he is. I mean, people show you who they are. I mean, that's what is so confounding sometimes when you see people doing stuff you know they're going to do, and they do it, and people are surprised, and it's like, well, if you look at how people are, it's how they usually will tell you who they are. So there have been so many ridiculous things going on in Maine with politics, but that's like almost a thing that can't surprise me, or anybody sometimes. There were 8 different anti-trans bills that were up for to be seen, and I believe 2 have passed in the Judiciary Committee. Both of them have to deal with youth, trans youth being able to participate in sports, and one, it was a party line vote, and one Democrat from Bangor also joined them. I believe it was Representative Hallahan. And the sad part about this is that Janet Mills, the person who said, you know, Steve Courtney Trump, might just sign one of these because she said that the trans people or trans people in sports are, quote, troubling at times. So, yeah, that's kind of sad, but it doesn't surprise me because it's Janet Mills, who also voted for assisted suicide and has had at least 500 people or so die. And those numbers are very, very opaque because they're not meant to be really shared by much, and you don't get much information where you look to see those numbers as well. So I'm not a big fan of Janet Mills, but, and The other thing, this is kind of bizarre, it just blows my mind that it's happening so close to home. Laura Libby is a representative who lives in Auburn, Maine, which about her district is about less than 10 miles from my house. She represents about 90,000 people or 9,000 people in Maine. And her district is in Auburn and Minot. In February, she put the image and name of a minor trans youth who was in sports in Maine. And I'm not even going to go into this sport because I don't want to do anything to out this minor. And she was censored by the Maine House and not allowed to vote. She had 15 state's attorneys, which isn't even a third of the state's attorneys, signed letters, and she sued Ryan Bechdel, was the main House person in federal court. I believe he's a House president. In federal court, she received a grant of the ability by the Supreme Court, which is the actual Supreme Court, to Supreme Court to allow to vote. So she's got the right to vote back in the state house, but she can't talk while she's on in the house, and she can't talk about any bills. She just vote, which is just crazy because she used to be a nurse who she's also has a really she's a strong anti-vaxxer who doesn't believe in any sort of COVID protocols. She's a nurse of all people. The irony is kind of crazy. You would think that someone who has a BSM would at least realize that masking is important. But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that this is going on. So before she was an anti-trans person, she was an anti-vaxxer. Before she was an anti-vaxxer, she was anti-COVID masking. Before that, she was something else. So literally, she's been doing this her entire political career. It just sucks that she can get to the Supreme Court, which is ridiculous. There's also massive cuts in the new budget that was passed last night or Thursday night, Thursday morning, I should say. It's Friday. That will, according to what I've read, require Medicaid work requirements for individuals who are able-bodied and to either work or be volunteers. And the thing about this is that it is something that can't be actually done effectively. Like, there's literally been letters in non-profit letters saying that they can't find enough places or ability to volunteer, because what they will do is they'll make people volunteer, and then if people can't volunteer, then they lose their Maine care or Medicaid, which in Maine is Maine care because each Medicaid is done by each state differently. So, and what happens is that most states will have, and I believe it's able-bodied people have to work at least 20 hours a week, and what happens is that nonprofits don't have 20 hours a week to give most people, especially people who don't have the skills to volunteer, or maybe mental mental health to volunteer or physical health to volunteer, or may have kids that have to be looked after while they volunteer, or may have other issues. So the issue with how the House budget passed is that they brought these things from that were going to go on in 2029, which would have been after Trump was out of office, to the end of next year, which is when Trump is still in office. But the reality is that I don't think they're going to get through the Senate. There's already strong pushback from lots of people on the Medicaid cuts. In fact, the Medicaid cuts were supposed to be voted on Wednesday night, and Tuesday or Wednesday night, and a group of activists from ADAPT actually were arrested. They were all good friends of mine. I actually saw the video on a bunch of social media, and I'll share that on Billy Maine as soon as I get off with this story time. I will share it sometime later on tonight. It's just literally, I'm exhausted right now. It's been a long week. But it's been a good week. I can't complain. And I'm with you, and we have at least 2 people watching right now, so that's great. Hi to both of you. I hope you're both doing great. Additionally, we're looking at this again. I'm trying to get stuff done, and hopefully I get this all done. And the Section 504 lawsuit that was filed with, I believe, at one point I had 21 states or 25 states, and now it's down. It was dismissed because all the states basically were asked to abandon it because so many disabled activists let them know how important 504 was, and Section 504 is one of the most important sections of the disability rights advocacy, because it was Judith Ewing who started in May of 1977, so it's almost been 40 years, 50 years actually, been 48 years, so that's kind of insane to think about when you think about all this. That's been 48 years that 504 has been in power, and it's been over 50 years since the first federal program for disabled people happened, and that was in the summer of '64. It was a pilot program for Head Start, and one of the pilot program sites was at Montello School in Lewiston, and one of the people there was Alice Conway. Alice Conway passed away in 2012 at the age of 51, which is the age I am right now. And that's unfortunate, because she was an incredible activist by any measure. She single-handedly did what people have wanted to do for airlines, and she did more than Pete Buttigieg did in 4 years for people's airlines. Pete Buttigieg gets a lot of credit for saying a lot of nice things, but he hasn't really didn't do that much. Alice Conway passed an ACTA with Olympia Snow and was very instrumental in that, and she was a very close friend and ally. And it's people like her who were so instrumental in these little small things that were going on. 20 years ago, we were dealing with the aftermath of the Clint Eastwood film $1 Million I actually taken completely wrong from the actual story. In the film, the fighter dies in real life. She becomes a coach in a wheelchair, coaching boxers. But in Clint Eastwood's film, the fighter dies of a sore spenceless, which makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, who am I to talk about it? I just wrote a website about it, and had like a viral thing with and worked on a movie which celebrates its 20-year anniversary this year. And I'll probably do something with that, I'm sure. And there's a lot of things I haven't done a lot with, but there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. It's Labor Day weekend. It's close to 5 o'clock. It's 4:30. Again, 504 went through. If PBS, another good thing about this is that this week, PBS and Sesame Street announced that Netflix is going to take over and help them with funding from they lost a large amount of funding from the administration and were basically as well, and basically they were lucky enough to partner with Netflix and will be around for a while, which is good. And there's a bunch of different protests and things, and there's so much going on. I'm sure people can tell you what's going on. I'm literally at the point where I'm just about ready to fall asleep, and I would love to continue this, and don't know what else to say other than have a great Memorial Day weekend. Take a good break. I haven't been here since before 420. I know there's a lot more information I could be sharing with you. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I will hope you have a great weekend and can enjoy yourself, and we will be back when we get back, and hopefully we'll have some good news to share, and hopefully we'll get those archives taken care of, and we'll have some positive things to talk about. And until then, we're going to be posting all this stuff as soon as we can. I know there's a bunch of different things I'm going to try and post when I get to it. Sometimes it's a little bit hard, but hope you have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll be doing this sometime relatively soon. Hopefully it won't take another 5 weeks. You have a great day and keep a great thought. Be well.